Meta are scrapping their fact-checking programs. Its chief, Mark Zuckerberg, says the move will help promote freedom of expression and prevent the removal of harmless posts. Well, here with me now to discuss this, the director of the Academy of Ideas, Baroness Claire Fox, and the Guardian columnist, author and podcaster Owen Jones. Very good morning to you both. Good to see you.
Hi.
Claire, I'll start with you. You're in favour of this move?
Yeah, long overdue. It's always good when somebody as important as Zuckerberg admits that there has been censorship on the sites that he runs and that the people who were shadow banned and thought they were going mad and were being gaslit actually were right, that the fact checkers were in fact political. He makes that point, ideological, and therefore, acted as some kind of ministry of truth, but weren't actually fair or neutral in the way that they removed posts. So, of course, I'm very pleased. Anything that sees the back of a regime that was pro-censorship and that argues for more free expression is good with me.
Oh, and you're against it?
Well, I think it's a problem that old media, new media are run by wealthy moguls who decide what information we receive based on whims. And I think on political content, he said now that's going to be promoted again. I can speak from experience. November 2023, that used to be one of my main audiences on Facebook. Audience collapsed by 95% overnight. Turned out they changed the algorithm to stop political content being promoted. But here's the problem. Donald Trump called for Mark Zuckerberg to be arrested in his book if he intervened in politics. Mark Zuckerberg has promoted a Trump supporter to be head of policy. He's moving the content moderation to Republican Texas. The move was announced by this Trump supporter on Donald Trump's favourite show, Fox and Friends. I don't think for a second this is actually about free speech. What they're going to do is, and I think we'll see this, is allow or promote Trump supporters and Trump-supporting content. If you look at, for example, a recent study by the BBC into content moderation on Israel and Palestine...
But...
In fact, just quickly, I'm going to honestly let you respond, I promise. Meta, what they did is they suppressed Palestinian content, but Israeli content didn't have that impact. Do I think that's going to change? No. And I think what we're going to see now is lots of extreme pro-Trump content being allowed and promoted because Mark Zuckerberg literally is under threat of arrest by the president-elect.
So, undoubtedly, I've got no idea what the motivations of Zuckerberg, and one can be cynical, and that's fair enough. But it's interesting because I'm not prepared to say, oh, but the regime before in which it wasn't pro-Trump, it was pro-Biden. And if you remember Hunter Biden laptop story, in which government officials from the Republicans intervened with social media companies, telling them to put out the story that that was a Russian disinformation piece. Eventually, by the way, mainstream media admitted that it was true. This is Hunter Biden, by the way, who's just been let off, given a pardon by his father. There is corruption in politics, I agree. But it's just this idea that it's going to be terrible now because it'll be Trump supporters getting the publicity. Before it was Biden supporters. And, by the way, removing the content moderators from California to Texas is an interesting move. But the idea that California was a good idea, that bubble in which only one set of views was allowed. And, for example, to use your example, if you posted anything that was, for example, gender critical on Facebook, it was removed or you got censored. If you posted, and he admitted this, Zuckerberg, right? He actually said debates around immigration were not appropriate. That is a suppression of democratic debate and discussion. But there will be things that will go on Facebook, as they go on X at the moment, that I don't like, that are unpleasant,
but Claire,
that are disputed.
Yeah, but the point, look, Donald Trump has actually come out and said, he was asked, do you think your threat of... And he said Mark Zuckerberg would spend the rest of his life in prison. Let me finish. The rest of his life...
Trump.
The rest of it... No, but this is what we're talking about. He said that...
No, can I just jump in on this? Because I think, the motivations of Zuckerberg and doing this days before the inauguration, whether there's a genuine threat in the background or not, whether it's motivated by money or not, it doesn't scream of doing it for the right reasons, just the timing. But let's focus on the fundamental issue of where we are and whether this is good or bad going forward. I mean, he said fact checkers have been too politically biased in the past, which is extraordinary because he hired them.
Yeah.
But is it possible to have these fact checkers and it not be biased one way or the other?
Well, I mean, look, you can see what's happened to X under Elon Musk. They adopted this approach. And what's happened on X or Twitter, I mean, I still call it Twitter, but X, is it is now a cesspit. Let's just be honest about it. Its audience has plummeted, both in the United States and Britain. Its profit margins have collapsed. And if you go on Twitter now, you have to wade through, I'm just going to be honest about it, a lot of neo-Nazis. And when I say neo-Nazi, I know some people go, oh, you just throw neo-Nazis around. No, I mean actual neo-Nazis. A load of just rampant disinformation and lies. And the problem is, in a democracy, if disinformation and lies just run rampant, unchallenged, it isn't good for democracy because people don't know what's real or not. So I think just look at Twitter and then you can see what's going to happen to Facebook.
But the problem is that I don't like disinformation, guess what? And I'm not keen on lies. The problem is that those people who acted as a ministry of truth, as in the fact checkers, weren't giving us the truth or the facts. And that's what's been admitted. And so, consequently, I would prefer to trust the users of those sites to be able to wade through a lot of trash, I agree, in order to make their minds up. And the point about community notes is that it gives people an opportunity to challenge. Now, what happened before was that you were basically told, if the fact checker said this is not a fact and removed it, and you challenged it, you were then accused of disinformation and being one of those neo-Nazi liars who was probably working for the Russians. It was all very confusing. But one way or another, you were smeared.
But Claire...
This way, a dispute can occur. And I think that a healthy part of democracy is hearing a wide range of voices and working out who the neo-Nazis are and who the people who are just labelled far-right for political weaponisation.
Here's why I think it's sinister.